Hey everybody, today we are talking about Candy Cane Murder by Joanne Fluke. Candy Cane Murder is actually a short story that is placed in between two other books. So this is actually the 9.5 book out of all of these murder mysteries with Hannah Swensen. So it's supposed to take place in between 9 and 10, and because of this, it's also a pretty short story. Goes by really quickly. I actually finished the book a lot sooner than I thought I was going to because of how short it was. So in this story, we are following Hannah Swensen in her, she's helping for this Santa Claus event. Santa Claus is coming and she's gonna be one of the elves that is helping give presents out to the children and helping out Santa stay organized during this little Meet Santa, Tell Him What You Want for Christmas event that they're doing. I believe it's taking place at Sally's Inn, and so yeah, that's where our story begins. And so while we are talking about this story, I am going to be making chocolate candy cane cookies. And so we're going to be crushing some candy canes to put as a topping, I believe. It might be actually mixed in, I have to double check that. But it's going to be candy cane cookies, and I've already started mixing the egg with the sugar, and so I'm gonna start cooking while I tell you more about the story. All right, so one of the first things that we have to do is melt the chocolate. Well, melt the butter and the chocolate together and mix it together, and then let it cool while we do the rest of the preparation. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that started now. Meanwhile, we are going to get some baking soda and salt, or baking powder. Oh, that would have been bad. It's baking soda. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. All right, so I have the melted butter here with the chocolate, and the chocolate is not quite all the way melted. I'm hoping that it'll just sit in this hot butter and melt itself, so I don't have to try to continually use the microwave to melt it. It's almost there. So back to the story. Hannah is helping out, and I believe his name was Wayne, was in charge of being Santa. And he believes he has laryngitis or something, like his throat is causing issues and he can't speak very well. And so Hannah comes up with this whole story like, oh, we'll just tell the kids that Santa's just getting over a cold, and that like his voice is gonna sound different, so it'll be okay if your voice is a little groggy, and the kids will understand. So they say that. The kids totally get it. They're totally fine with him having a little raspiness in his voice. It's fine. Anyway, a little time passes. Everything goes well. And they go back into like the kitchen area, and there was a few like candy canes that they were giving out to the kids. I believe that's what they were doing with them. There was a few extra candy canes, and Hannah wanted to keep them to try out her crushed candy cane, chocolate candy cane cookies, but he actually asked for them back, any of the extras, and so she had to like give them back to him. And she was like, wow, they say that he's really stingy and everything, and really holds tight to his money, and here he is asking me for the extras back. So she gives them back, and a little bit of time passes. She ends up getting with her sisters, Michelle and Andrea, and they are walking in kind of like the parking lot area of the inn when they see a candy cane on the floor, just in the middle of like the walkway in the road in the snow. And they're like, this is odd. Why is there a candy cane here? And they pick it up and they go a little bit further, and there's another one. So they pick that one up, and then they realize that there's like a trail of these candy canes, and they realize, well, it must be from Wayne. Maybe there was a hole in his pocket and they're all spilling out while he was like walking somewhere. So they go ahead and start following this trail of candy canes. I'm gonna go ahead and add some flour as I tell you the rest of the story. So as they continue to walk and try to find this this trail to see where it goes up this huge like snow mound that was like plowed into a corner. And Hannah's like, you guys stay here. I don't want you to fall and get hurt. I'm just gonna go climb up. And because the stars were really pretty and the moon and everything, so she also wanted to go up there to get a nice view of that, but also to find out if there's anything else over there because of the candy canes. So Hannah goes up there while the other two sisters stay and watch her. So as she goes up there, it is a really nice view, but unfortunately, on the other side, she does find someone in a Santa suit just lying there like on the floor at the end on the other side of the snow mound. And so she goes over there she is like really grateful that her sisters didn't follow her up there. She's like, stay there. She goes over to check, and it is Wayne. He is dead. So we find out that that's who met their demise. And so here we go on another adventure of trying to figure out who it was. So of course Hannah does the right thing, calls the police, and they investigate to see if it was an accident, if he just slipped, or if it actually was something that happened, that it was a murder. Turns out that Doc Knight went and he checked it out, and he determined that yes, it was in fact murder that was the cause of his death. So unfortunately, we have our 10th murder in this town. They of course go trying to figure out everything. He had a store in the mall that was very successful, very big, and so that is where they go first to go talk to the people that worked there, to go talk to his wife and his wife's brother, who I believe is named Corey. So they go to find out who, like, if they have any more information. And they're thinking maybe the wife did it because she just, maybe they were having marital issues and she just killed him so she could get all this money. So she and Norman go to their like penthouse. It's like on, I believe it's like at the top of the mall, and like where their store is. They go up there to talk to her to see if they can get any hints of you know, like if it was her, but it turns out she has a really clean alibi, so they determine it's not her. Now, I will say, even though the wife ends up having an alibi, that does not mean that she's innocent in all of this and that she does not play some kind of part in the demise of her husband. Without giving the entire book away, they continue to try to figure out what's going on. And this time around, because lately the past couple of murders have been a little harder to figure out, it's taken a little more time for Hannah to like put the pieces together, but she ends up figuring this one out really quickly. It was actually pretty easy for her to know like who it was. She just is able to put the details together really easily, and it ends up being someone that she thought had an alibi that was like cleared, but it turns out that there was actually a really well thought out plan to murder Wayne so that no one would suspect. So it actually could have turned out being, you know, really successful, but luckily there was just enough stuff that didn't add up to Hannah that it made her figure things out. And of course, she gets herself into danger like always, because she never plans things very well when her brain seems to think of who it is, and she always seems to be with that person when it happens, when she figures things out. And so they always try to end up killing her or doing something to her so that she can't turn him in, and yada yada, that stuff happens again. And the way that they end up catching the killer this time was actually pretty cool. I actually thought it was a really nice way of having that be revealed. And yeah, so all is well again. We still don't have Hannah being tied down to any one man yet. There wasn't really a lot of time for that kind of stuff because it was such a short book. So yeah, I need to get a better tool for this so that this will actually turn more into right kind of a cookie dough. So right now it's just kind of like flaky, so let's go ahead and fix that. Okay, so I cannot find anywhere in the recipe where it says to add this mixture of chocolate and butter, but I'm assuming it's gotta be now. So if this ends up not working, it's not my fault because the instructions are not clear what to do after it's cooled. So I have everything else ready here except for I still need to chop these or crush them. And so we're gonna try that, see how that works. But let me go ahead and finish doing this part real quickly. And then we will be ready to make them with the candy cane and give them a nice bake in the oven. If you want to go ahead and read the book and find out exactly who it was and why, it really is a short book, and you could probably read it in, if you're a fast reader, you could probably get it done in one day, or two at most, really. I mean, it's not a very long book at all. But we will see if, since this is in between 9 and 10, we'll see if it really plays into anything going into the 10th book. If you just go from 9 to 10, it might not even matter. So we'll see. The next one I think is Carrot Cake Murder. So that's the next thing we'll be baking. But here is the fun part. We're gonna crush these. I have no idea if this is going to work because in the book it says that she uses a hammer and like a cooking mallet, which I don't have. But she also said that one year she put them in like a really sturdy triple amount of bags, and then Michelle, her sister, slowly ran over it in the car and she said it worked. I'm definitely not going to do that. I'm going to attempt to use just like a regular rolling pin, but if this does not work, I'll go ahead and get out the hammer. But I just thought I'd try this method first. So here we go. This is working just fine. I think I'm gonna call that good. It's not like, there's gonna be a couple of bigger pieces, but I don't think they're too big. Most of it is super crushed, so I think it'll be perfect for what we need. We're just gonna mix a little sugar with this so it's not too pepperminty, I suppose. And then I believe we're just gonna roll the cookies into it and then cook it like that. So it's just like covered in this like pepperminty coat of sugary pepperminty goodness. So that is what I'm going to do now so we can get them baking. All right, here is our first set of cookies. I'm gonna go ahead and bake them and we will be back shortly for a taste test. So as you can see, these spread out so much more than I imagined them to. So I have extra dough. I'm gonna make much smaller cookies and make some more and see if I can have them actually look like regular cookies. But yeah, so I'm gonna do that while these cool for a minute, and then I need to move them onto a wire rack so that they don't stick because of the candy canes melting. So yeah, I kind of made a cookie sheet recipe rather than individual cookies at this point. I'll see if I can separate them, but oh my gosh, that's funny. I just did not think they were gonna spread that much. So anyways, let me get these onto a wire rack, and then once they're cooled enough, I will taste one and see if it at least tastes good. Okay, so I went ahead and put some more in the oven. I made them way smaller and way more spread out, so hopefully they will I mean, I know they're gonna get super flat just like these, but at least they won't run together is the goal. We're supposed to take these off pretty soon so that the candy canes don't stick, and I am struggling to get them off. Like, not just because they're sticking with, but just because they're like still kind of like gooey, and I'm like needing to wait for them to get more cooled, I think. But at the same time, they're probably just gonna be harder to get off. So here's one that I kind of was able to get off. Oh gosh. Okay, so this one has quite a lot of the candy cane pieces in it, so I'm going to taste this one. It's still warm, so we're gonna go ahead and take a piece off and see how it tastes. It is very gooey and not too strong on the peppermint. So there was a note that she made. If you want it to be more strong in the peppermint flavors, you could have part of the vanilla extract. You could put some of it vanilla and a little bit peppermint extract to make it a little bit more. You can definitely taste it with the candy canes. And if you used more than what I used, I don't know that I used as much as the recipe called for. I split it in half, but even still, I don't think I had quite as many candy canes. So ideally you would want to have even more candy cane coating, and then they would be more peppermint just by doing that. So if you did that plus the peppermint extract, you're gonna get more of that peppermint flavor than what I'm getting from this, but you do still have it in there. Like, I can still taste it. So it depends on how much you like that flavor to begin with. If you want it to be subtle, then this was fine. It's definitely there, and because of the way you cook it, it's not hard. The candy cane is not like gonna break your tooth or anything. It's soft and everything, so that is not anything you'd have to worry about, since most of it's kind of melted into it. The chocolate is not overwhelming, so also if you want it to be more chocolatey, you could use a little bit more chocolate if you really like chocolate. I think this is just, it's a nice balance because it's not too sweet, and it could be very sweet if you put more chocolate and more candy canes. So just depending on if you want it to be a nice little treat that's not super overwhelming with the sweetness, then I think this balances pretty well. So yes, it's very buttery too, very oily because of all the butter. It does call for a lot of butter. So I'm noticing that too, that my hands are like super oily just from grabbing this, but maybe if you cooked it a little longer and smaller. So we'll see if these end up being better because of that. I'm also using stoneware in that, like a thicker pan cookie sheet, so we'll see if that affects it too. Okay, here's how these ones turned out. Much better size, not hitting each other and getting stuck together. However, I still am worried about being able to take them off in one piece because, as you can see, I just have clumps of cookies everywhere. So we'll see if I can get these off and into a more perfect looking cookie. But yeah, this definitely recommend small balls when you do this. Okay, I just took one of them off and they're perfect. So yes, smaller and letting them have more space to spread out, and doing smaller balls definitely helped with them not turning into a mushy mess. But they are still very thin and spread out because of probably the butter content. So if I were to make these again, I would probably do less butter because I feel like that's probably one of the reasons why they spread so much and are so flat. I believe it's the butter is the culprit, but also the candy canes. I would probably just omit the candy canes completely and use peppermint extract instead to get that peppermint flavor in there still, but without having to worry about them sticking to the pan, which is what happened to me, even though I greased it like you were supposed to as well. So less butter and candy canes, just don't even care about them. But if you would like to do it, then that's my advice, is to just maybe do less butter. But if you would like this recipe, then you can find it in Candy Cane Murder by Joanne Fluke, the 9.5 installment of the Hannah Swensen murder mysteries. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with you with Carrot Cake Murder as soon as I finish reading that book to make a carrot cake with you. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.